Okay, so next property is partition coefficient. Partition coefficient is the ratio of unionized drug distributed between organic phase and aqueous phase at equilibrium. It is given by log P is equal to concentration of drug in organic phase divided by concentration of drug in aqueous phase. Compounds with log P values between 3 to 6 show good absorption. Log P greater than 6 or less than 3 have poor transport characteristics. So for good absorption, the drug must show log P value between 3 and 6. Increase in lipophilicity of the drug beyond optimum log P leads to its deposition into the lipid membrane, because the drug will become more lipophilic and hence it will tend to deposit in the lipid membrane. So percentage absorption of the drug can be estimated from the partition coefficient. For example, barbital, which is partition coefficient 0.7, it shows percentage absorption is 12. Phenobarbital, its partition coefficient is 4.9 and its absorption is 17%. Next property is solubility. As bioavailability of the drug from liquid oral mainly depends on solubility in the given solvent system, it is one of the important parameters for assessing the absorption of drug into systemic circulation, that is into the blood. According to Lipinski, poor absorption is seen when compound has molecular weight above 500 AMU, atomic mass unit, log P greater than 5, and either 5 H-bond donors or 10 H-bond acceptors. It is also known as Lipinski's rule of 5. Any drug to be absorbed must be present in the form of solution at the site of absorption. The solubility depends on ionization, molecular structure, molecular weight, stereochemistry and other aspects. It is also affected by the pH. If pH of the solution is such that a particular molecule remains unionized, solute has minimal solubility and it precipitates out of solution. Insufficient solubility of the compound influences both pharmacokinetic as well as pharmacodynamic parameters of the compound. Good solubility ensures good bioavailability. Protein binding. Once inside the body, the drugs are protein bound and they are especially bound to albumin. So reversible binding of the drug with non-specific and non-functional sites on body proteins without showing any biological effect is called as protein binding. Depending on whether the drug is a weak or strong acid, base or is neutral, it can bind to single blood protein or the multiple proteins. So most significant protein involved for drug binding is albumin. So once inside the body, drug molecules are present in two forms, free form and bound form. It is the free form which is pharmacologically active, that is which can show pharmacological action. It is diffusible and available for both metabolism as well as excretion. Bound form. In the bound form, the drug cannot show any pharmacological activity. It acts only as the reservoir for the drug. When the concentration of drug in free form starts decreasing, slowly the drug is released from the reservoir. That is, from bound form it gets converted to unbound form. Next property is complexation or chelation. Drugs may form complex or chelates with the metal ions through coordination bonds. You can see the cyclic complexes. Glycine ion plus copper can form glycine copper complex. This is known as complex. The stability constant Ks reflects the strength of interaction, and larger the constant, the greater the stability. So Ks is given by concentration of the complex divided by concentration of its components, that is glycine and copper. Higher value of Ks, it indicates that there is good complexation between the components. Now, as complex drugs cannot cross the natural membranes, they reduce the rate of absorption of the drug and also affect total drug availability, because absorption of the free drug molecule shifts the equilibrium to the left, causing free drug molecules to be released from the drug complex. In clinical practice, chelating agents have been used primarily as antidotes in heavy metal poisoning. Because of its powerful chelating effect, EDTA can displace toxic heavy metals such as lead and mercury from the cellular layer. Thus, EDTA is mainly used in heavy metal poisoning. Deferoxamine, it is a highly selective antidote which strongly chelates iron in iron poisoning. Dimercaprol, also known as British anti-leviside, it is used in the treatment of lead poisoning. L-penicillamine is used in treatment of copper and Wilson's disease. So these are the applications of the complexation of drugs. Also, numerous antimicrobial and anti-neoplastic, that is anti-cancerous agents, are believed to exert their action by means of complex formation with DNA base pairs. These drug molecules are large planar aromatic compounds, and they can be inserted between the planar base pair assemblies on the DNA double helix. This is known as intercalation. Drugs which act by this mechanism, they are ethidium, quinacrine, proflavin, daunorubicin, adriamycin and actinomycin D. Calcium is an important constituent of mucous membrane of GIT. So complexation of this calcium with EDTA can increase the permeability of the membrane. Thus, presence of EDTA increases the absorption of drugs like mannitol, quaternary ammonium compounds of sulfanilic acid and heparin, which are very poorly absorbed in ordinary condition. The drugs which are highly lipophilic, they cannot cross the mucous membrane. So calcium is the important constituent of mucous membrane. So if this calcium is complexed, then it may increase the membrane permeability. So EDTA can form complex with calcium and remove it from the membrane. This membrane becomes more permeable and it is useful for the absorption of drugs like mannitol, quaternary ammonium compounds of sulfanilic acid, heparin, etc. A side effect of hydralazine, an antihypertensive agent, is the formation of anemia, and this is due to chelation of the drug with iron. So sometimes this complexation may also lead to side effects. For example, hydralazine, it can chelate iron. Now iron is an important constituent of hemoglobin. Thus it may lead to anemia. Next property is bioisosterism. So first of all, let us see what are bioisosters. So bioisosters are the substituents or the groups with similar physical or chemical properties in a chemical compound. The groups showing similar physical and chemical properties are called as bioisosters. And bioisosterism is the procedure for synthesis of structural analog of a lead compound by substitution of an atom or group of atoms in the parent compound for another with similar electronic and steric characteristics. In drug design, the purpose of exchanging one bioisoster for another is to enhance the desired biological or physical properties of a compound without making any significant changes in chemical structure. In order to develop a new drug, the structure of drug is considered to consist of two parts, critical or essential and non-critical or non-essential. So these molecular modifications can be done in the non-critical part. The type of modification which can be done are selectivophores, that is those modifications which confirm selectivity in action of the drug by regulating drug distribution. Contactophores, the modifications which by increasing penetration help the drug to reach the receptor site. Carrier moieties or conducting moieties, these moieties increase affinity of the drug. So these are the modifications which can be done in the non-critical part to optimize the drug structure. And the modifications can be made with help of bioisosters. They are classified as classical and non-classical. Now, classical bioisosters, they have similarities in shape and electronic configuration of atom, group and molecules which they replace. So, you can see the examples. Monovalent atoms, bioisosters are deuterium and hydrogen, fluorine and hydrogen, ammonia and water, ammonia and hydroxyl group, etc. Divalent examples are carbon double bond carbon can be replaced with carbon double bond nitrogen. Other are COCS. Trivalent atoms or groups CH and nitrogen. Similarly, you can see tetrasubstituted atoms and ring equivalents. Benzene ring and pyridine ring are bioisosters. Non-classical bioisosters, these are structurally distinct, comprise of different number of atoms and exhibit different steric and electronic properties. That is, their structure is different and also they have different steric and electronic properties. You can see cyclic and non-cyclic isosters, estradiol and diethylstilbestrol. The structure is totally different. One is cyclic, another is non-cyclic, but they are bioisosters. Next, you can see isosters of carboxylic acid. They are also structurally very different. So what is the use of bioisosters? They improve potency, enhance selectivity, alter physical properties. They can reduce or redirect metabolism and eliminate or modify toxicophores. See some of the application. F is an isoster of H. Now see, in the lead compound, you can see the lead compound. It was used for hyperlipidemia, that is to decrease cholesterol absorption. But this compound was highly unstable. So metabolic stability was conferred in the compound by replacing hydrogen on the bench